Welcome to Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. On this podcast, we journey through the devastating experience of the death of a child. Grief is seldom discussed openly in our culture, and the death of a child makes people feel even more uncomfortable. We approach the topic openly and honestly, speaking to people who have lost loved ones and experts who help care for them. Whether you are a parent experiencing loss or someone who wants to support another going through this tragedy, this podcast strives to offer hope and help.
Welcome to episode number 363 of Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. I'm Marcy Larson, Andy's mom. Today I have the pleasure to introduce you to Heather. Heather is O's mom. I was introduced to Heather through Gwen, so I knew it would be amazing, and it certainly was. I do want to take a few minutes to talk about this week's sponsor. So this week's sponsor is in memory of Camille by her mother, Sonia. So here's a little writing that her parents wrote for today. Camille was born just before midnight on September 10th, 2001. She missed being a 9/11 baby by less than 10 minutes. Camille and her older sister grew up as sisters close in age often do. Best friends and or worst enemies, depending on the day or the minute. By the time they were young adults, they were definitely best friends. Like many suburban kids, Camille tried a lot of sports in elementary school. Soccer, basketball, softball. She was a pretty good catcher, which worked out well for Dad's knees since her older sister was a pitcher. Then she discovered volleyball. Camille played volleyball in clubs and in high school from the time she was 11. She was going to play collegiately at a Division III school, but COVID canceled the season at the end of her final club season and what would have been her college freshman season, and she transferred to a larger school closer to home after 1 year. Suddenly, losing one of her true passions was extremely difficult for her. Camille was very gifted in math and sciences and was well on her way to becoming an engineer. She had completed her third internship with a construction company that was preparing to make her an offer after she graduated. On August 25th, 2024, on the way back to college, about 3 hours from home, Camille was involved in a single-vehicle crash on the interstate near the college. Our last living memory of her is seeing her drive off in her car. Camille was our middle child and fit every bit of that role, always watching to see what her younger brother and older sister did and got and making sure that equal treatment was given to all. She was wickedly funny and also the first to apologize if she went too far. She was fiercely supportive and loyal to her friends and family and an advocate for those, especially those with disabilities. Losing Camille has left a huge hole in our family, as well as many others who loved her deeply. She was truly the love of our lives, and we miss our Mealy more than words can say. Thank you so much to her parents for those beautiful words and for sponsoring an episode this week. So if you would like to sponsor an episode in memory of your child or another child, you can go to andysmom.com to the donate page. A donation of $125 does dedicate an episode in your child's memory. Also, we've started another thing that we are doing, a little social media post. So look in the coming days and you will see a social media post with some pictures of Camille as well. So if you would like to share your story on the podcast, please feel free to email me at marcy@andysmom.com. Right now, though, I just want you to sit back and enjoy listening to Heather, O's mom. Thank you so much, Heather, for agreeing to come on the Always Andy's Mom podcast today.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am excited to talk to you because you come by way of Gwen. And I always feel like when I have someone recommended by Gwen, I just know it's going to be great. She didn't tell me very much about you, though. So I'm going to learn with the audience, which I think is awesome, too. I kind of find that a little bit more fun. So
she is just, I immediately fell in love with her. She is so genuine and so just real and just this light. I immediately fell in love with her.
You're right. She does just have a light about her, doesn't she?
She does. Yeah. Love her.
Well, why don't we start out by just talking about your son, Owen?
O.
Okay.
That's his nickname. We've called him O since he was a little bitty, I guess. And Owen isn't a long name to say. I don't know why we felt the need to shorten it.
Do you know what's really funny is my cousin's son is Owen, and they just call him O too. So I think it's a thing. All right.
I guess so. Yeah, we've always called him O. He just the greatest.
Yeah.
Like funny, mischievous, heart of gold. Like actually on my desk right here, I have this note that I found from him, and it's written from whenever he's smaller, and it says little day on there, and it said,
Mm-hmm.
I love you. You mean my heart to me. I love you. Heart O. From when he was
Oh, I
smaller.
love that you have that framed. That's awesome.
And I found it and I was like, oh my gosh. And I didn't want to lose it. So yeah, I have that framed. And so I think that's a really good indicator of who he is. Like his huge heart. Like I said, mischievous. He loved Naked and Afraid, like that show.
Okay. Okay.
We had always watched that together as a family with the other boys too. And when we go camping or something like that, he would be out at like 6 a.m. and he would be at the campfire, like with like rubbing sticks together and like getting things together and like would make a fire like before anyone else would get up. We're like, okay, bud, like we appreciate that, but we need you to have an adult there when you do that. Not- Loved being outside, loved playing sports. He loved football and soccer, loved camping and looking for crawfish and tadpoles and snakes and all those different things. Just the greatest kid. Just the greatest kid.
What number is he for you? Because you said there were brothers.
He is my baby boy. He's number 3.
Oh, he's the big.
He's the baby.
He's number 3.
Yeah, he's the baby.
Oh. So what kind of age gap are in the boys?
So my oldest boy is 22. Well, he will be 22, which is wild to me how I have a 22-year-old when I can't be that old to have a 22. He turns 22 in a couple months. My middle boy, he is 19. And then, he would have been 15.
15. Yeah. Well, what else do you want to tell us about? Oh,
The thing that really sticks out to me is like how he's just so funny and sweet. Like those are the two big things that like I think about. Like he has this huge sense of humor, this dry kind of hilarious sense of humor that sometimes you'd be like, wait, what did you? It took a second sometimes for you to catch on to what he was saying, and then literally like the biggest heart.
yeah.
The biggest heart. We got a call one time from the principal at his school.
Mm-hmm.
They said, "Hey, did you send O to school with $100 for meat sticks?" And I said, "No." Why? Why? And then they said, "Well, he brought $100 bill to the schoolhouse and he wanted to buy $100 of meat sticks with him." And I said, okay. And then they said, well, we didn't let him. We just let him buy $40. I was like, $40? You let this kid buy $40 of meat sticks? And so then he's like, yeah. And then we figured that was plenty. I was like, yeah, like 5 would have been plenty. But okay. Okay. And so then he comes home and he's got like 12 meat sticks left. And I was like, bud, did you really eat like 27 meat sticks? And he's like, no, 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 no. And I said, okay. I said, what did you do with them? He's like, I just handed them out. I just handed them out. I said, okay. He was like, my teacher was having a bad day. So I laid a meat stick on her desk. Like I just handed them out. And so we got so tickled about that. And like, then that became like one of our little jokes. But like, that also was like one of the sweet things about him is because he's like, oh, my teacher was having a bad day. So I just gave her an extra meat stick because apparently the meat stick was gonna meat sticks cure
For sure.
cure a bad day.
For sure. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah. And so to this day, like if we see a meat stick, or I actually keep an emergency meat stick in my purse for if someone's having a bad day, do you need a meat stick? That makes me think about
How old was he when he did this?
13.
13. Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah, 13.
Yeah.
There was one time we got an email from the schoolhouse, and they were talking about how O was playing in the classroom, and he'd been told, because he has football, because he would throw his football around and play all the time.
Uh-huh.
And so the teacher told him, hey, you can calm down with that football, because something's going to get broken. And so then I guess him and a buddy were throwing it back and forth, and it hit her lights, like that she had around her room. It hit those.
Oh no.
And like it broke them. And I can picture his face when that happened. It would have been like one eyebrow that I can't do, like just like that. And so then I asked him, he got home, I was like, hey, bud, anything happened at school today? He's like, no, kind of a boring day. I was like, nothing interesting today? He's like, no. I was like, was there a problem with the lighting in one of your classrooms today? And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah, that did happen. I totally forgot about that. I was like, okay. But then I tell that story because at his service, that teacher came to me and she said, I had to get on to him because he, because I
Yeah.
do. She said, but oh my gosh, she said, I got so tickled because he was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry. And she's like, I got really tickled about it because like that was just who he is, like that kind of mischievous, kind of funny, but also like that big, huge, huge heart. And like, I'm so
Right.
sorry. I didn't, oh my gosh, I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I promise. Like I'll yeah, very, very much like that. And like him and his brothers, like they're all close. And like, I remember them all like just wrestling and playing. And one of the things, like my middle son, Levi, he would show Owen, he's like, hey, have you heard this song? Have you heard this song? Have you heard this? He'd play a song for him. And then he's like, yeah, no, bro, I don't like that. Mm-mm. Then literally the same day, his older brother, Russ, would play that song and be like, hey, oh, have you heard this? And so he's like, yeah, that's a banger. I love that. And then he went to Levi and was like, hey, Levi, have you heard this song? And then Levi's like, are you kidding me? I showed that to you earlier and you said, you didn't like it. And then now Russ shows you and you love it. Yeah. It was little things like that, like those little like brothery things. But then also, hey, Levi, can you take me to school? Can I ride with you to school? Can I ride with you? Like it just all those little bitty things that you don't think that like you would miss.
Yeah.
And it's like those little like almost insignificant things, like them putting up dishes, after supper, like those little things that you just you miss so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just the number of plates at the table is just hard, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you want to talk for a bit here about what happened with Owen?
We lost Owen in November of 24, and we lost him to suicide. And we've set some pretty clear boundaries with folks. And we just say that Owen died by suicide.
Yeah.
And we share that Owen died by suicide because we live in a pretty small town, and there was I understand that sometimes people don't talk about how their loved one died, and they don't, but we really didn't have a choice because we're in a small town, and people knew Owen died by suicide. And so I think I think for a lot of folks, it was kind of eye-opening that suicide can happen to anybody.
Yes. I was just thinking that.
I'm a counselor. I remember someone telling me not long after Owen passed, they said, I don't know if this is the right wording or not, but I'm so sorry that you guys had to sacrifice Owen. It's not the right wording, but I think that he's going to save so many lives.
Mhm.
And I believe that to be, I know that to be true because like we've always been pretty open in our family about mental health and about discussing suicide, discussing, mental health challenges, discussing those things. Like we've always talked about it. Like I had like the crisis number and everything, like in phones and all those different things. We've always been very open about mental health. But I also recognize that like other families may not be as open.
Mhm.
And so I know that Owen has saved lives because I've had parents come to me and say, I've never talked to my kids. And then after we lost Owen, I started asking questions to my kids and asked them if they'd ever, thought of suicide and they said that they had. And so,
Mhm.
and they said, Owen losing O helped us to recognize that like nobody is immune
Yes.
and that we need to have conversations with our kids too. And so
Mhm.
that it sounds really like I don't know what the right wording for that is to say I'm happy for that because that's not right. Like I'm not happy
Yes.
my son passed away. I don't know what the right grateful that doesn't sound right either, but like that others that Owen would
What?
save lives.
Yeah. And that gives it, there's just a little bit of purpose in that. In this horrible, all of this horribleness, there can be a little bit of good, a little bit of glimmer. I've talked to lots of people and lots of people whose children have died by suicide. And there are these extremes. Okay. There are the ones that had seen it coming for years and years and years. And there were attempts and there were all of these things and they knew it was coming. And for some people had said there was almost a little sense of relief because they constantly lived in fear waiting for the call. And then there are others. Like I will talk about my friend Chrissy because she is so open about this, about her son who just a day or two before had written out his goals for his senior year of high school. And then he takes his life by suicide. And that was not, I mean, that was just completely out of the blue because kids make kind of rash decisions and they don't, it's not always this long thing, this long journey. And that's what I think people get confused about because I think they see it in that first way that I described, not in the second, not in a kid who writes out their goals and seems happy and part of the family and part of a great amazing family. I mean, Chrissy is awesome woman. They're an awesome family. And Caleb just, I don't know. I don't know what was going on in his head. Nobody knows what was going on in his head at the time. But it lets people know that it can happen to anyone. I had a family in my practice. They've since left the practice. They've grown up. She had 4 teenage boys. She made those 4 teenage boys listen to the episode with Chrissy in it because she wanted to spark that conversation, like you said, because all of a sudden she realized after listening to that it could happen to her too. And she used this podcast as kind of a jumping off point to like, let's listen to this and then let's talk about it. Let's talk about thoughts that you might have and it doesn't mean if you bring it up and talk about suicide, it does not mean it's going to happen more. It's actually going to happen less. So because people think if they say the word, it's going to suddenly, oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. But now that you mention it, that's not the way that works. So I appreciate what you're saying so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I think that that's one of I literally just spoke on this week about being a loss survivor and like one of the things that loss survivors really struggle with is like lost futures or
Yes.
feeling invisible in in plain sight. And I I don't know like whenever I was asked to present at Kevin's song where I met Gwen, and it was asking about like coping strategies for loss survivors and for parents, and I was like, I have no idea. Like it it seems unfathomable to me sitting here talking to you that Owen died in November of 24, and here we are in July of 26, and I'm still breathing
Yeah.
because a third of my heart is gone. And I think that that's one of those things, like, I had to think about that, like, I had to think, like, "Well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing something because I'm still
Breathing. Yeah.
still breathing. I don't know how. I don't know how because some days it feels like you can't. It feels like your chest is just so heavy and hurts, and so, like, how am I?" And I honest to goodness, like, I started thinking about that, and it's not like, "Okay, well, you need some good DBT skills and some CBT." It's not that, and, like, I mean, I am a counselor, and then I do therapy, but then it was these teeny tiny little things that are almost like you don't even realize you're doing them. You don't even realize that, like, these teeny tiny little steps are helping you get through. One of the things for me that's a big step is very, very soon after we lost O, I started noticing things that were too coincidental to be coincidental.
Mm-hmm.
I started noticing these little things, and then I started calling them O signs,
Mm-hmm.
like, very soon after O passed. And then I became obsessed with them, Miss Marcy. Like, I became, like, writing them all down because I was so afraid that I was going to miss one. And, like, I started writing them down at first because, 1, I didn't wanna miss anything, but then 2, that I would be able to look back and have them all.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I started doing that, and that's been one of the things that really helps me is because I know he's right here. I know
Yeah.
he's still with me, and he's still kinda guiding things. And so I started writing them all, like I said, I started writing them all down, and then I would tell people, and I'd say, "Oh, I think this was an O sign," and then others would be like, "Yeah, I think so." And it feels so connecting on so many different levels because when others are like, because I understand how insane that sounds, like, "Oh, my son who's in heaven speaks to me all the time." Um, and so, like, at first, I really wouldn't I would just kind of talk to my husband about it, tell Chad, I was like, "Babe, so this happened." It's like, I think that was O,
Yeah.
you know? And then, like, they were happening more regularly or more, like, blatantly, and so then I started sharing them with other people, and the first time I shared them, I was like, "Oh my gosh." And I even prefaced it with, "Okay, this may sound insane, but," and then it wasn't. Then people are like, "Oh, no, that makes sense to me." And then I noticed that
Uh-huh.
people would share some of their signs, like, from their loved ones. And so then this whole, like, kind of feeling invisible or feeling lonely, it diminishes some because, you know, not only am I still getting signs from O and still talking to O in that way, but then others look for those signs, or others share their signs that they had with O with me, or they share signs from their loved ones or signs that they perceive. My grandma loved fill in the blank, and I went to the or the grocery store the other day, and then a can of fill in the blank rolled in front of me right as I was thinking about my grandma, and, like, "Oh my gosh, that happened too." And so then having that kind of connection is I think really important. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's probably one of the biggest things that helps me is recognizing those signs, knowing those signs, sharing those signs. I wrote a journal for others that's inspired by O, because I thought, "I wonder if others have these signs too."
Uh-huh. Can you share one?
I can share numerous of them. So, for instance, I was with someone and they asked me if I was going to speak at the conference we just had on Wednesday in our area. And I was like, I don't know, because I did speak last year at the conference on suicide loss etiquette and like do's and don'ts, like things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say this, don't do this, do this, do this, because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah.
So then this time, like the person asked me, they're like, are you gonna present again at the conference? And I was like, I don't know, man. I said, if I do, then I think it'll just be on grief. The wasn't even out of my mouth yet. And then one of O's songs started playing on the radio as soon as I said grief. And so me and the friend I was with, we just stopped and then we sobbed through O's song. And then when it was over, she looked at me and she goes, "Well, I guess you're speaking." And so I did.
Yeah.
And like there are all kinds of things like that. They often come in threes. Like it's like he knows that I'm not paying attention, or not I'm not paying attention, but if I'm like, was that an O sound or not? Then typically I get like two more. Like he's hammering it down, like, okay, mom, come on. Like, come on. Like, pay attention. So yeah, there's so many of them. There's absolutely so many of them.
I tend to call them God winks. That's what I usually call them. And I'll just tell you the very first one that we had was, so Andy and Peter, his younger brother, used to play soccer in the backyard every single day, right? But they had this old rubber Diego ball from when they were tiny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know, one of those rubber
Yep.
balls that you play with. Well, that thing, you could kick the heck out of it and it would just go,
Yep.
So far, way more than the soccer ball could. And so they would mess around in the backyard with that silly Diego ball from when they were little. And they got it stuck up high in a tree. Okay, and it was stuck there
For years. That just where it
for
lived.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's where it
It
lived.
was stuck in the
Yep.
tree. Stuck in the tree. Not anywhere. Never budging.
Yep.
Never. Andy died on Wednesday. We had his funeral on Monday. We came home from the cemetery and that Diego ball was sitting in the backyard. It wasn't a particularly stormy, windy day. There was no reason that Diego ball should have fallen then. But it did.
Yep.
It was just kind of like Andy going, "Hey, Peter, here's the ball back." Like I finally got it. Because, of course, they tried for a long time throwing stuff up there, getting it to knock down.
Yeah.
Finally gave up. But it was just like, I got the ball for you.
Yeah, here you go. Thank you so much, Miss Marcy, because like those are exactly.
Like there's just no explanation for it to happen. And to happen during his funeral?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
No.
Like those. And so exactly.
So the Diego ball sits still in our garage, totally stained, dirty, deflated, awful, and I'm never
Being
getting
rid
rid of it.
No, I don't blame you. That Diego ball, let it stay right there. Right.
That is in our garage.
Yep.
Forever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's so many of those different things, and like just different God winks or different like I've always called them O signs because every time they happen, I say, "Hey, O."
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that helped me too, because like this is one of the things like people don't understand is like your whole world is broken. Like your whole world as you know it is completely different in a second. And you have no idea how to even breathe or function, much less like how am I going to move forward?
Yeah.
You don't even think about those things. One of the things that that my husband and I did do on day 2 was trying to we we know people who have lost children, and sometimes people are bitter and angry, and they just bitter and angry, and I get it, and it's easy to get into that, to feel that, and to it'd be very easy to live there. And then we've known people who just are the epitome of love. Like, even after losing a child. And, like, we have a couple that their names are Ray and Michelle Hornsby. Michelle would be a fantastic podcast guest. She just is the epitome of love, and, they lost their son, Justin, 9 years ago. And I remember just being so struck by them because, like, they just are so full of love, and so my husband and I said we're gonna try to walk this path like
Mhm.
they have, like, just with love. And so that was one of the things that we decided we're gonna try to do this the very beginning. And I don't know if we're doing it, but that's what we said that we wanted to do. And that has helped us a lot
Yeah.
because we wanted to focus on that. The other thing, the thing that I think the biggest thing I think that has helped is with all those O signs. I remember sitting on my front porch, and it was one of those days, like, 'cause Miss Marcy, you know how those days are, like, some days you're like, "Okay, like, I can kinda breathe," and, like, "Okay," and then
Yeah.
the next day is just, like, how I don't understand, like, my world is gone, like, how
Yeah.
do I
Yeah.
how do I get through the day? I don't understand. And so it was one of those days, and I was sitting, 'cause it had just turned kind of spring, and that's the other every season we think, like, "Oh, okay, this is the worst one." And then another
Yeah.
season starts, and then no, you remember all these amazing, wonderful things, like playing in the backyard and doing all these different things, and then, okay, no, now that wave, that contraction of missing them starts all over because it's a new season. It's a new season of missing them, and then you do that every season. But I was sitting on the front porch, and it was springtime, and things are starting to bloom and get green and stuff, and I'm just sitting on the front porch just missing oh so much. And just, like, thinking about how, well, we should be playing this or
Yeah.
planning camping trips or going this, and just missing him so much. I was, like, scrolling through social media, and I saw that this store had sunflower rugs, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go get a sunflower rug, the sunflower outdoor rug. That'll be the thing I do today, and then I'm going back to bed." And so then I go and get that sunflower rug, and then I'm walking out, and, like, I'm not even looking for these, and there's this big, huge thing of seeds, and there were sunflower seeds and zinnia seeds, which were flowers that O and I planted the year before. And so then I just am looking at those seeds, and I said, "Okay, bud, like, I see you." And then there was something else that day, and just for these little things like that, and I remember coming back home, and I remember going, "My relationship doesn't end." Like, it is vastly, vastly, vastly different,
Yeah.
and I want him here. Like, I wanna be able to hug him and love on him and feel his little hands and all those different things, but, like, our relationship doesn't end, and he's right here, like, he's with us, and he's with me consistently, and he shows that through the O signs and through talking to me, and, like, that was one of the I don't wanna say an epiphany, because an epiphany sounds like, "Oh,
Yeah. No.
oh, everything's wonderful and amazing now," and so I don't wanna say epiphany, but, like, that was one of the things that helped me so much,
Mhm.
because I think that that's one of the things that people in grief, like, I lost my son. Like, he's not here anymore. And so then we forget that maybe he still is, and that relationship does not end.
And you're still his mother, and there's still things that you can do as his mother. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So talk about your grief journey a little bit and what you are doing, because you're doing quite a lot.
I don't think I'm doing quite a lot. I think Miss Gwen lied to you, honestly. I think she lied to you.
Oh.
No, I don't know. Like, it's ever evolving, and like part of the grief journey was the choosing love. Like, we're
Yeah.
that was an intentional thing. That was an intentional. Okay, we're gonna try to do this. We're gonna try to do this in love. We're gonna try to love like O. We're gonna try to do that, and like, if I talk to you for 5 minutes, if I meet you and we talk for 5 minutes, I'm gonna talk about my boys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna talk about my boys. I'm going to show you pictures. I'm gonna like, I've always been that way, and I'm still this way to the boys. And so, after losing O, that didn't dawn on me to change that,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. Like, I've always loved out loud. Like, I've always loved out loud. Like, I love my boys out loud. Like, I love other people out loud. Like, I've always done that, and so it never dawned on me not to. And so, like, I start like, every Facebook memory that popped up, like, I would share it, and I'd talk about, "Oh my gosh, like, I miss this so much." Like, this was such a I'm so grateful for these memories. I'm so you know, I'm so grateful for that vacation and these pictures and all these different things. And it didn't dawn on me not to do that. I was doing that for me because it was reliving those memories and reliving those experiences and those things together. And I checked them right before we got on this podcast. And like, there's a memory of our week-long camping trip that we took every week or every year. And like, it brings me back to those things. But then what I started noticing is that, like, people were thanking me for it, which I thought was weird. That I would get a message or a text like, "Thank you for talking about O. Thank you for sharing those memories. Thank you for doing those things." Because it gave permission to other people to talk about their loved ones or to bring up O's name. Because a lot of people, like with grief, is they just don't talk about people. They just say they don't talk about those names anymore because, "Oh, well, I didn't wanna make."
Especially when they're kids.
Oh my gosh.
Especially
I
when
didn't
they're
wanna make
kids.
you
It's
sad. I'm sad
uh-huh.
every damn day. Like,
I know.
you saying,
You are not making me sad. You are
no,
not making me cry. If
no.
the tears come, it's because I'm actually kind of happy that somebody else remembered.
Yes,
I mean, that's
yes,
right. Because the tears are always almost there.
yes. And so, yeah, they're all that's what I said. Like, I cry every day. Like, it just is gonna be, is it a full on cat 5 ugly cry where you cannot get off the floor cry, or is it just gonna be a little like, okay, but it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, anyways, it never dawned on me not to. Like, it never I
Yeah.
love out loud, so, like, and I talk about my boys all the time. Well, just because O's not here doesn't mean I'm gonna stop talking about him. And I think that that has given people permission to discuss things. Like, my husband and I made a garden for O because we promised him that we would. So, do you remember when, like, chaos gardening was happening?
No, I don't know. I'm not a gardener, so
Okay.
okay. So tell me what chaos gardening is.
Chaos gardening actually may be good for you then.
Okay.
So you get like a mason jar or something, and then you get whatever seeds you want, and you put them all in there. So like zinnias or sunflowers or like coneflowers or any wildflowers or whatever, and then you just mix them all up, and then you spread them on the ground. And then they just you have no idea what you're gonna get. It's gonna be a combo of all these different things, and it's gonna be like a surprise. It's gonna be chaos. So that was kind of like a popular social media thing that I was seeing all over the place. And so then I asked, I was like, do you want to try that? And he's like, yeah. So then I said, well, what flowers do you want? He wanted zinnias and sunflowers. And so there's this back corner back there in our yard, and it was kind of overgrown and stuff. And he goes, Mom, listen, you got a garden, like that's vegetables. Those are cool. Like you've got a couple flowers over here, but we need more flowers. Like we need more. And it's like, all right, so let's try that. Let's see if this chaos thing works. We'll just spread them out there. I said, but you got to make sure they get to the dirt. And he was like, yeah, well, I know. It's like, okay. So then I was like, which ones do you want? And he's like, I'll take the sunflowers. I was like, okay. And so then he goes to throw them and immediately goes, I said, did they get to the dirt? He's like, yeah, I don't think those got to the dirt. I don't think those are going to grow. And I was like, well, but I was like, that's fine. That's fine. I was like, we'll see if they do, if they do. And so then he said, well, why don't we just build a garden here? And I said, well, but it's too late in the season to build, like to clear that all out and then build a garden. I said, but we'll do it next summer. And so we did.
So you did.
We did. And I became obsessed with saving all of the blooms from that garden. And so I have hundreds of preserved flowers from that garden. And so my husband's like, baby, what are we doing with all of these flowers? Because I was obsessed with it. I wanted to like learn how to like preserve them because I didn't want any of them to waste. And so like, bless his heart, he would walk downstairs in the laundry room. There'd be flowers hanging from the ceiling. And then there's like different flowers everywhere, like drying. And so then he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going with it. And then I learned how to preserve them. And so now I make art out of them. Like I make,
love that.
I make like shadow boxes, or I make like to preserve them. And then in my mind, in my heart, I know that garden was like we promised, that we were going to make that garden. We were going to do that. And so then we did. And so then now with every one of the pieces that go into the world has a little bit of that love for O.
Yeah.
And so
it's something you're doing with him.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the podcast.
Yeah.
I do the podcast with Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Every week. It's something we do together.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me by myself.
Mm-mm.
It's something we do.
No.
Because I feel him when I do it. Normally I do it in his room, but we're up at our cottage up north, and so I'm doing it with his favorite tree behind me. So
there you go.
And this is where I feel closest to him anyway.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. No.
So you've done some speaking though, right? Talk about that a little bit.
Basically, like the one that Miss Quinn saw was about grieving out loud.
Yeah.
And
I know. That's what she told me about.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's all of this. Like, I think it's all of like, just like having, sharing O signs and like sharing, and creating the journal, because like the journal was something that I didn't even think of. Like all these different things also like kind of go back to the O signs, because if you'd have told me when he first passed, okay, Heather, you're going to be on a podcast talking about grief. You're going to be selling flower art made from flowers that you planted for him. Hey, you're going to be having a second line down your town. I'll tell you about that in just a second. Explain what that is. Then I'd be like, no, absolutely not. Because you can't think of that. But like someone told me the other day that they said, and I believe this to be true. I believe this so much to be true, that O has never left my side. Like he's always here beside me, with me. But they said, it seems like O now is like putting a paver in front of you, like a next step. Yeah. And in some ways that he has kind of done that, because like everything, every experience, every speaking thing, everything like that, I'll talk to O and say like, hey, like, I don't know, bud, like send me a sign if this is something you want me to do or not. And then there's this sign. There's this thing. I honest to goodness think that some of our technical difficulties the other day, I think that was honestly, because I had just presented the day before, and then
Uh-huh.
and it's heavy. Like when you talk about grief, and like you are very vulnerable and very naked and very, all those different things, then I think maybe O was like, all right, Mom, let's pause on this for a second. Let's give you a break. And then let's talk about it again.
Well, to be truthful, the first time we were going to do it, I didn't tell you this, but see, this may be and two because I never do two on the same day because I think it's too much.
That's
for
too
me.
much.
But I have a lot going on with my family right now that I need to do, and so I scheduled two on the same day. I did the first one, and it was quite long and quite emotional. For those of you who listened last week, it would have been the one that was last week. Anyway, and then I got a headache. I was feeling awful, and I just cannot do another one. I cannot do another one. And you were so gracious, but it may have been may have been Owen intervening a little bit because I didn't have it in me to do a second one that day.
Right.
And then of course then we're gonna do it again, and then you have computer trouble, and now we're third time trying. So third time was the charm here, but now everybody felt good about it. So but you're right. I mean, sometimes things just work in a way that it needs to be. So
I think so. And I think that, like that's one of those O signs, and like that's one of those things. And so like whenever I speak, I talk about it's like grieving out loud, because we don't talk about grief really. It's
yeah.
I think it's one of the, like, everyone experiences it, but we don't talk about it. And so like I accidentally have started like grieving out loud, if that makes sense. Because it's not something you intentionally do. You don't say, okay, well, I think I'm going to start grieving out loud now. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
You don't do that. Like, it never dawned on me not to do it. It never dawned on me to not talk about it. It never dawned on me. Like, I try not to have full breakdowns in grocery stores or things like that. But if I do, then it's okay. Like, I do.
Yeah.
And I think like talking about those things really does help people feel connected and not so alone. Like,
Yes.
grief is so damn lonely. It is so
Yeah.
lonely, and it can be like so debilitating and so painful. And sometimes sharing that with someone, like feeling connected, I think helps.
Mm-hmm.
Like I posted on social media one time about a thing of hot dog buns that knocked me out in a grocery store, because they were the sweet Hawaiian hot dog buns. Like I just ran in to grab hot dog buns, and I went in there and I grabbed them, and they were the sweet Hawaiian kind. And I went, oh my gosh, I was going to love these, because you forget sometimes, like your brain forgets sometimes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was going to love these.
Yeah.
And then my brain caught up, and I was like, he's not there. And I lost it. I'm going through the grocery store, like just sobbing, but trying not to sob, like just
Yeah.
trying to get out of that store as fast as I can, and then got in my car and just lost it. And then I posted about it. I said, something about the hot dog buns took me out today. And then so many other people were commenting, it was this for me. It was this for me. And like the other day, I lost in Aldi. I'm minding my business, going through the store because grocery shopping is so hard. I met a mama at our conference this week, and she had lost her son. And she said, I can't even grocery shop. She said, I can't go in the store because, and it had been, I think, 4.5, 5 years. And she said, I can't do it because I just keep wanting to grab stuff that he would like. And I said, I fully understand that. I said, some days I can get through the grocery store and I'm okay. And other times it's a mess. And so the other day I was at Aldi and I was walking through and I saw the cheesecakes, like the little small cheesecake samplers that they have. Has like 4 little different kinds. Oh, loves those. I would have to buy 2 a week sometimes because he would eat them. He loves them. And so I grabbed it and then I held it for a minute and then I could feel the tears coming. I could feel that knot in my throat starting. And so I put it down and I was like trying to do some deep breathing, but I still had the pre-ugly cry face, those scrunched up, heavy blinking, like trying to stop.
Yeah.
And this woman, she goes, are you okay? And I said, yes, ma'am. It was like, I'm really sorry. It was like, this cheesecake got me. I said, I lost my son a 1.5 years ago and he loved this cheesecake. And so then she said, oh, and she asked, she's like, can I hug you? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she said, my grandmother loved oil of Olay. And she would always ask me, if you have a little extra pocket money, you can, I know it's kind of expensive, but you could get me some oil of Olay. And the lady was telling me that. And she said, so sometimes whenever I walk by oil of Olay, she said, I tear up some. And she said, so I understand. And I thanked that woman so much because, like, I think that that's one of the things that grievers feel is like that invisible in plain sight because people forget everyone else's lives have gone back to normal, right? But for us, like it doesn't. We have to relive it every day and have to try to find some way to like move forward and some way to do these things. And being seen and like having those connecting moments where you're seen, you're validated, and then people share their experience. So like I've seen oil of Olay, I think twice since I saw that lady, and I think of her and I think of her grandmother for that. I think that that's my part of my grief journey is like not knowing what it is, but sharing it. And I like because whenever I met Miss Gwen, like it's just the stories and those little things about O and about like the garden and sharing those things and the O signs and then creating a journal for others to share their signs with their loved ones and jot that down so that they feel connected to their loved ones. And like his second line, I don't think there's really like we literally grieve out loud, like loudly with a band through the streets of our town. Because are you familiar with what a second line is? So
Nope.
I'm from Louisiana and second lines are like a little parade. And we have second lines for all kinds of stuff. Like when people get married, there's the second line that goes through the parade or goes through things like we have them all the time. And basically it's a brass band. And then everyone kind of parades behind them and like walks behind them. And so it was O's first birthday after we lost him. And I was looking to see when that was like, and I noticed it landed on Fat Tuesday.
Wow.
And so I said, I wonder if we could do a second line for O's birthday. And we didn't do it on Tuesday, on Fat Tuesday, but we did it on the weekend prior. And we invited people to come and celebrate their loved ones, celebrate anyone that they had lost to suicide. Because, I don't know, I just wanted to celebrate him. It was his birthday, and it's Fat Tuesday, and it's Mardi Gras, and that kid loved Mardi Gras. I have so many pictures of him with, like, so many different beads and stuff because we'd make we would do stuff here at the house, and, we would make a big celebration. I had celebrations for every holiday, every holiday. We have traditions for every holiday, everything, and so he loved Mardi Gras and the beads and all those different things, and so that's what it started as, was I was just going like, "Oh my gosh, like, I wanna do this," 'cause you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do, like, how do I celebrate his birthday. How do I stay in bed all day? Do I celebrate? What do you do? There's no owner's manual. You don't know how to do these things. And so then we decorated parasols, and I actually have one that was gifted to me last year that someone made for me. Those. So we decorated parasols, and we did these things, and we had volunteers that came in, and they played the band, and then we all met and we discussed and we talked about and we talked about others that we had lost. And I read a poem that I read every year, and I can read it for you in a second because I think it's fantastic. And then we literally danced down the street and paraded together. And I was like, well, I guess that is grieving out loud. Like, we're literally having a parade. And my thought was just to do it once, just for, because his birthday landed on. But then as soon as we got finished, and as soon as everyone, it stopped walking, I had people come up and go, "You're going to do this again next year, right?" I didn't really know what to expect, but I have a picture of my loved one in my pocket, and I was walking with them. And so then we did it again last year. And more people who had lost someone to suicide, they came, and they had, parasols with their pictures on them, and we're celebrating them, because I think with grief in general, but then also especially loss survivors, everyone focuses on how they died, not how they lived. And so we really wanted to focus on that, and we wanted to celebrate our loved ones. I guess we're going to do it again next year. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know how long I'm going to, and that was another thing, another O sign, because I was like, oh, is this something that you'd be cool with? And then literally, things just started kind of occurring where it literally was it planned itself.
Yeah.
Because, it just planned itself, because I think, heck yeah, parade for me. Let's go. Bet. And so I think that that's just some more of it, is just that grieving out loud, because you don't feel as alone. You don't feel as disconnected. You don't feel as forgotten.
I love that. That's just beautiful. Sounds super cool. You'll have to send some pictures that we can use this next week when we release it.
I will.
So why don't we end by having you say that poem that you said you wanted to share? Does that sound like a good plan?
I will.
Okay.
I forgot my mug right here was an O sign. I love going thrifting, and I hadn't gone the weekend before O passed. The weekend before O passed, me and him and my middle son had gone thrifting, and he was like, "Okay, I'll go with you, but do I get iced coffee?" I was like, "How else do you thrift?" "Yes, you get iced coffee and then go thrifting." And so then we had gone, and I hadn't been since. And it was one of those things that it's like, okay, I need to go, because I was so afraid to go to that store again, because then, oh my gosh, what if I can't get out of the store? What if I start bawling? What if I start getting these things, right? And so then a girlfriend of mine went with me, and I saw this mug, which O had a shirt like that. That was one of his Christmas sweaters or something like that. And I saw it and was like, "Hey, bud." Hey, bud. Because it was the first time I'd been in there. So this is one of the things that I share at the second line. And I think that O sent it to me, because I was struggling a lot. And one of the other promises that we kept with O is that he was really excited about going to travel, because his two brothers are both in the military now. And so we didn't know where they were going to be. And O was excited about traveling, because he said, "Oh, like, I don't know where they're gonna land. We can go anywhere." I was like, "I know." And he goes, "And now we can fly because it'll just be the 3 of us we have to buy plane tickets for, not, not the 5 of us, and so we can
Yeah.
fly." And he's like, "Or if we have to drive, I get the whole back seat to myself. I don't have to be I don't have to share it with my brothers." And I was like, "I know, I know." So he was looking forward to doing those things. And so, like, that's the other thing that we've really done is we take him everywhere with us. When we go visit or we travel to see the boys, or if we do something like that, we bring a photo of O. And so we have family photos like at all these different places because we promised him that we would travel more and that
Uh-huh.
he would travel with us. And so we've been we've been doing that a little bit. And so this home, because it was one of those days where I was just one of those bad days. Because then you think about, like, well, what does my life look like now? Like, how do I what does tomorrow look like? You're focused on trying to get through today, and that's it. But like, how do I do that? And so then I found this poem. It says, "I'll live for you. Your life was cut short, but there is still so much living for you to do. I will live for you. I will take you with me everywhere I go, drink coffee in dimly lit cafes, travel to foreign places, put my toes in the sand, create memories so that whenever I see you again, I can tell you all about it." That's by Sharon Marsh. Leave her wife.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
And that really resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have, so that whenever we do see him again, I can like tell him all about it. I can share my love for him in different places, but being able to you know, live a life like that and live loudly and love loudly and grieve loudly.
We went to Italy last year, Italy and Greece. 2 weeks, long vacation, longest we've ever taken as a family. We took Andy's teddy bear and we took a picture of our family with that teddy bear every single place we went.
Yeah.
Because I was taking him along. Mm-hmm.
I think that that's such an important part, like, because I was still like involved in our daily lives and our different things. And like, we went to Antigua last year, and it was not long after O's anniversary. And my brother and sister-in-law, they were like, "Hey, like, let's literally just go and disconnect and, do that." And so we did. And I met some great people there. And I was telling a story about, oh, because you know how it happens. Like, it just something small happens and something small kind of continues. And I saw a cricket that was this big. This cricket was the biggest cricket I've ever seen in my life. Like, this cricket looked like it had been like lifting weights. Like, this thing was massive. And so then I saw it and I was like, oh, like, O's baby dinosaur would love that. He has a bearded dragon that we call a baby dinosaur because it looks like a baby dinosaur. And it was like, he would love that. And so then I'm talking to the people about that. And then it turns into, oh, like your son. And we talk about that. And then inevitably, like, well, how old? Well, he passed away when he was 13 and doing that. And so then I talked about him and talked about living like O and loving like O, the LLO. And months after we left, one of the people had contacted me and messaged me and told me that they had a baby. And I was like, I'm so, because I knew that they were pregnant. And I was like, I'm so excited. Like, I'm so happy for you. Like, how are mama and, mom and baby doing? And how's dad doing? And, and he's like,
Yeah.
everybody's good. Everybody's good. And he's like, she's beautiful. She's healthy. Like, mama's good. And I said, okay, great. And then he said, don't worry, Heather. I'm going to teach her to love like O.
That's awesome.
And so, like, I think that that's part of the living and you know, living out loud and grieving out loud and loving out loud, because then I think this person who
Yeah.
never met O, but knows about O and knows about him through our love for him, is going to teach his daughter how to love like O.
Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much for sharing O with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful and would like to support the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and comment. To help financially, you can type Andy's Mom, one word, to the number 53555. This provides a link to GiveButter, which allows donations through PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, or credit cards. GiveButter will provide a receipt of your tax-deductible donation. Or you can visit the donation page at andysmom.com/donate. Always Andy's Mom is a registered 501c3 and can receive donations through Thrivent Financial and Benevity. Marcy loves hearing from listeners. Please feel free to reach out to her via email at marcy@andysmom.com or on the Instagram or Facebook Always Andy's Mom accounts. Sign up for the email list to get weekly episode links as well as pictures of Marcy's guests and their children. Together, let's work to inspire hope, one day at a time.